You've all seen it, right? Maslow's hierarchy of needs. That pyramid that's in like every textbook. It promises us this neat step-by-step climb to becoming our best selves. But what if that map we've all been given isn't actually leading to freedom? What if it's the blueprint for the very prison we're trying to escape?
Okay, so this quote, it doesn't pull any punches. It gets right to the heart of the problem. It's basically saying that the pyramid isn't some universal truth about who we are. It's a rigid, black and white framework, and it's built on a view of the world that might be completely flawed.
So let's just quickly remember the promise, the story we're told. The map says, hey, once you get your basic needs covered, food, safety, a sense of belonging, then you can start climbing, step by step, all the way to the top, to self-actualization. It feels clear, it feels logical, a simple and honestly a pretty reassuring promise. But this is where the whole thing gets flipped completely on its head. Maslow promises this straight line of progress, but this critique says, no. That's just an illusion that keeps us feeling separate. And get this, self-actualization isn't the peak you climb to, it's the origin you start from. So the pyramid isn't a universal map based on what we're missing, it's a specific cultural invention designed for control. See, for Maslow's pyramids even make sense, you have to buy into a few core beliefs without questioning them. You have to believe that you're an individual, separate from everyone else, that your life is a straight line forward, that the goal is to accumulate things to fill some kind of void, and that higher up the pyramid is somehow morally better than being lower. But what if those aren't facts? What if they're just the rules of one particular game? So, if the pyramid is just a map, and maybe a faulty one, what's the actual territory? What's the world really like? Well, the idea here is that we have to remember the state we were in before anyone handed us this map. A state of wholeness, of non-duality. And we get this absolutely brilliant metaphor to help us grasp this. The terrón de azúcar, or the sugar cube. Just imagine for a second, the instant before the Big Bang. Everything that exists, everything scattered across the universe right now, was one single unified whole, a single sugar cube. No separation, no up, no down, just unity. So how did we get from that beautiful unity to the divided world we live in? Well, first, the universe expands. Entropy scatters the pieces of that sugar cube. Then, society comes along and starts slapping labels on all the pieces: rich, poor, success, failure. And finally, the pyramid gets built. It's a structure created for one reason: to organize all those labels and convince us that this separation, this hierarchy, is just the way things are. Now, this brings us to a really key idea that Maslow himself talked about, the Jonah complex. The fear of our own greatness. But what if we've been looking at this whole concept completely backward? Here's the critical question we have to ask. Is that fear of success some kind of personal, psychological flaw that's wrong with you? Something you need to fix? Or is it a perfectly sane, perfectly rational response to a system that is actively threatened by your real, untamed potential? Maslow's take was that it's an internal block. You're just scared of the responsibility that comes with being powerful. But this new perspective says, hold on, it's not an internal fear at all, it's clarity. It's you, with your eyes wide open, seeing that the system, the pyramid, will actively punish, sideline, or get rid of anyone who dares to find their greatness outside of its neat, controllable little boxes. And this quote it absolutely nails it. What the system calls a personal psychological problem, a fear of greatness, might just be someone making a conscious choice to not play a rigged game. It's not a sickness, it's a decision, it's opting out. So is there a name for this state of awareness, this ability to see the world as it actually is, without the distorted map of the pyramid? Well, according to this material, there is. It's called metaphrenia. Now, this is so important. Metaphrenia is not being presented as a pathology, not a mental illness. It's the opposite. It's being framed as a cognitive expansion, a quantum leap in your mind beyond the simple binaries of good/bad, right/wrong, me/you, that the whole pyramid depends on. It's the ability to see beyond the labels. So what does that even feel like? Well, it's about expansion, not boxing yourself in. It's like stepping off the flat, one-dimensional path of the pyramid and onto a perpendicular axis, where you can see how everything connects. It also means practicing ignorexia, which is the amazing discipline of not knowing, of unlearning all the stories you've been told so you can see what's actually there. And in the end, truth stops being a story somebody tells you, and it becomes a resonance, a feeling in your own body. Okay, so this is the big question, right? What does life actually look like when you just throw the map away? When you stop climbing and you start living from this place of metaphrenia,
The alternative vision is something called the pyramid tumbada, the toppled pyramid. So instead of that frantic, lonely climb to the top, imagine a horizontal field of growth spreading outward. It's a world where my success only makes sense if we're all winning together.
and just look at the difference. Inside the pyramid, your value is your productivity. It's how much money you make. Work is something you do to get somewhere else. But outside the pyramid, your value is just you, your authentic expression. Work and life become the same thing. You stop chasing stability because you remember that freedom is your natural state. And you don't need to fight to belong because you realize you were never separate in the first place. You're already whole. This final quote really says it all. The pyramid offers you security, a predictable path. But that security is a cage. Real freedom isn't something you earn at the top. It's just remembering that unity you came from, that original whole sugar cube. So that leaves us with this one final, pretty disruptive question. We've been taught our whole lives that the goal is to achieve something we don't have, to fill a void, to climb a ladder. But what if the entire point is to stop all the striving and just remember the wholeness you already are and have always been?